Here to help us make sense of all these headlines is Tomlinson, political commentator with Young Voices UK. We'll revisit that interview in a second, Conor, but let's just start with cutting back on Christmas plans. Simon mentioned this sort of disparity we had almost between the Prime Minister and the Chief Medical Officer. Who are you leaning towards?
I think if it's good enough for the Queen to host a Christmas party, I think I am going to see my family, thank you very much, and not disassociate from all the friends that I should have seen in the last 18 months, but while they were busy having parties, I was unable to do so. It's pretty frustrating to see the sort of doom-mongering from stage, but it's not particularly surprising. The Chief Medical Officer seems to underestimate how much his diktats at a press conference have an impact on the hospitality industry. Obviously, they make 1/3 of their profits for the Christmas period, and then now you've got major bosses coming out and saying, oh, we could actually lose about 1.3 billion just from not just the restrictions put in place, not just the suspect screens everywhere, limiting the amount of capacity, but also the amount of cancellations. About 40% of all the usual Christmas affairs have been cancelled just because Boris and Chris Whitty have been getting up behind their podiums and talking at press conferences. And now there's going to be a disincentive there for people who aren't double jabbed, soon not triple jabbed in January if they can't use a vaccine passport, or don't want to take a lateral flow test or can't get them delivered because there's a shortage. They won't be going either. So it's a pretty damning indictment.
The difficulty with this is Chris Whitty, he's a scientist. He's giving us the facts as he has been presented with them and presents them to us. Then you have the Prime Minister standing next to him who has a political job to do, and he's trying to balance out that public health and people getting on with life as normal. The fact that people are cancelling their Christmas parties suggests that they're siding with the science.
No, I think it suggests that there's such an air of uncertainty that people don't want to have to take a gamble with something like a deposit being put down and losing a lot of money. I mean, I, for example, have got something booked for Christmas for a few days, but I've only got 3 days to cancel it. And so if it gets to the 18th and they decide to shut all the pubs and that, I'm totally fine. If it gets to the 19th, I lose all my money and my girlfriend won't be very happy that we can't go away for Christmas. So a lot of people are going, well, I can't risk that kind of money. I've saved up all year and I can't go to a Christmas party that I've the pub for. I can't go on a quick, in UK getaway with the uncertainty of, things might be shut overnight if Boris decides to get up on his podium and tell us, rather than circumventing Parliament at a press conference, tell us that it's all locked down again.
Some of the uncertainty is just because we're living in a pandemic with a virus that's mutating, that's infecting lots of people. I mean, anecdotally, lots of us are coming across friends, family, colleagues who are testing positive, and people are trying to think, okay, what do I really want to do? The advice is I'm going to try and prioritise those events rather than do everything, because that might be unwise and you might catch coronavirus.
Yes, but as we've already seen in terms of the lethality out of South Africa, the data hasn't been particularly well presented at the previous press conference that announced vaccine passports, for example. Lots of people were pointing out that the graphs are a bit out of date. South Africa's had a month on the ground data, and they've seen mass reductions in deaths, and they are a far less vaccinated population than the UK is. So I don't see why a lot of people are panicking to the extent that the government are about Omicron.
As was pointed out yesterday, Conor, this was addressed very specifically by Chris Whitty, who said our population is generally older, we are more vulnerable. That's why there's a difference. He was very clear on why we shouldn't do what you're doing, which is extrapolate the South African information and make that what will happen here, because he said that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, but if they're more vulnerable, they're also more vaccinated, which obviously the government believes the vaccinations work, particularly because they're pushing the booster. Therefore, if the double jab has got sufficient protection against hospitalization and death, also in the booster, it decreases your likelihood of transmissibility. So that's why they keep marketing it as a social responsibility. So if they're worried about transmission, fine, push booster. If they're worried about hospitalization and death, well, 2 jabs have already been enough. So I don't see why my elderly relatives can't see me at Christmas.